always like to start by having some people who have done this before stand up and just tell us a bit about their experience, whether you're a parent, a community judge, a teacher, and just if you've done this before. Oh, great, you're going to start.
Sure.
And just introduce yourself if you would, please.
Okay, my name is Jim Vallone. I live in the district, used to teach in the district. I now am an administrator in a neighboring district. This kind of helps me keep connected to our Webster kids. Been doing it for a number of years. I like to come to this training every year. Just kind of gets me refreshed to what we're supposed to be doing, what we're supposed to be looking for. It's really enjoyable. We always try to set the kids' minds at ease a little bit when they get started, and that's always helpful. But it's really great to kind of see the difference. There's always a lot of difference between what they were interested in and what they accomplished. So.
Great, thank you very much. We have someone else who would like to give a little testimonial. If you would introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. My name is Kathy Krolik, and I've been a judge probably 5 or 6 times in the past. I have a high school senior, so I've watched her go through this process, and I was also a mentor to one of our graduating seniors this year as well. I also come every year for training just to keep it fresh in my head. What are we looking for? It's a great experience. You're going to have a great time. The kids really put their heart and soul into their projects. They are nervous when they get to see us. So really the first thing is put them at ease, like you said. But it's a fun process. So.
Thank you. Well, I should tell you at first what's at stake for the kids. It's 30% of their English final. The product is 20%, and that's already been judged, and this is scored. And this is where I have to bring up the point that you mustn't let, during the speech, you mustn't let the project influence your scoring. It's been done. That would be a double dipping kind of thing, or double something. So the mentor's already done that. And it's hard sometimes. I mean, if somebody brings in their canoe, and you're looking at that, and you think about the speech, and someone else comes in and they've done some fundraising thing outside, you don't get to see much of except maybe a few pictures. You're putting those pictures in a montage on poster board next to the canoe that's right there. And it's hard to separate and be objective, but we ask you to please do that in fairness to the kids. Most of the students, the vast majority of the students, have never taken public speaking. We offer it, I teach it, and it's an elective. And so, I don't know, probably roughly 15% of the student body has taken it, something like that. And what will happen, though, is that the English teachers in their senior year will offer either a rehearsal in class or time outside of class to come and work and be critiqued and learn how to give the presentation. They've done other presentations in other classes, of course, over the years. But for most of the kids, this is a first-time big deal speech, okay? I am an AP consultant for the College Board, and for many years I went to the readings in Texas and Florida and Kentucky to grade those AP exams. And every single day we start the day with the mantra, which is reward the students for what they do well. And I tell my students, who by the way are taking this exam tomorrow morning, we're meeting for breakfast at 6:30, that during the year, I tend to grade a little harder than I ever graded when I was down at the reading, because I would rather have them be pleasantly surprised rather than unpleasantly surprised. But they do follow this rewarding them for what they do well business, and this is what we're asking of you. Keeping in mind, you're talking primarily about 17 and 18-year-old students. And I'll be saying this more than once tonight, because when you watch the presentations, there's a good chance you're going to be noticing errors. You're going to be noticing all kinds of things that you would hope that people wouldn't do and that you wouldn't do if you were giving a presentation. But you know, we all make these little mistakes when we give presentations. We don't even know we're making them many times, but we are. Now you're sitting tonight with kind of a magnifying glass watching everything, and we're discussing all these little points. And that's to inform you, to educate you, to give you a broader picture, and in some cases a narrower look at something. But it isn't meant for you to go out and then apply it in such a stringent fashion so that it's unfair to students who are doing this. Some of them are doing it for the first time when you see them. They won't all have taken advantage of the practices they could have. If you would look at the task itself, looks like this. You should be able to expect an introduction that ends with their announcing the goal or the product that they're aiming for. You should expect a body organized into 3 components, and they can organize that pretty much the way they want to. I have my students do it, usually procedure, and end with what they've learned, their benefit, and their product. They have to talk about their relationship with their mentor, which is listed on here that you've seen. You don't have to worry about the time other than being the timer. In other words, it's not your problem what to do if they are under or overtime, and Dave will talk to you more about that later. And they should have a conclusion that rings true. We're not expecting them to come out with a brilliantly written, sparkling, witty, charming, non-repetitive conclusion that we would all hope to have. Conclusions are the hardest things to write, I find, and the hardest things to teach. And when I get a good conclusion, I'm so excited, and I just read it to the whole class. Say, listen to this line. And because so many people end up in a summary that is highly repetitive, doesn't drive it forward at all, doesn't leave you with a memorable thought or mind or concept, or line, I should say. And it's harder to do. They're pretty good at introductions, not so much at conclusions. But you are looking for an organized, structured body here, okay? And what I think works best is starting to go with the rubric for content alongside the scoring sheet. The scoring sheet, do they have the one with the bubbles? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't. All right. Okay.
Joanne,
Yeah.
quick question. Is this something that they read, or is this something that they will present with a touch of extemporaneous?
They can use note cards. No, it shouldn't be a reading.
Okay.
I don't know that we have any of our special needs students who have the modification that allows them to read or not, but normally they are judged separately. But you should not see.
This is I heard somebody made reference to it as a speech.
It is a
Might
speech.
suggest that one has written it and is presenting it. So this is a presentation using notes. Got it.
Right. The only speeches that are manuscript speeches are hard. I mean, look at our politicians. They use teleprompters. Manuscript speeches get rattled off very quickly. They have very little feeling. To me, a speech isn't with a manuscript unless it's supposed to be. It's called for. A eulogy, perhaps. You know, if you're president, you need to do this maybe. But they're supposed to have note cards. If they had a manuscript and simply referred to it, and it wasn't clumsy, didn't rattle, didn't wave, I don't have a problem with that. The problem is most of them, if they have it typed out word for word, and they could put it on note cards word for word too. And if they do, you end up having a reading rather than a speech. Okay? All right, so we're going to start with the introduction. Not everybody will tap dance for you. You may have someone who does. We have had kids who've been in musicals, and that's exactly how one of them started. I remember he came out, you know, and it was perfect for his speech, for his product. But again, if he goes first, he sets the standard, in your mind, and you're expecting everybody to do something equivalently interesting, that may not be fair in terms of the scoring. So you could look at his, instead of looking at his as a 10, think in your mind, I can only give him a 10, it's an 11. So that I still have 10s I can give out to other people who won't do the tap dance. I'd like you to look on the rubric. If you would follow down with me on the left-hand side under distinguished, if we can see what the best will do, then the rest fall into place, I think. And the way I'd like to do it is the way I wish it could be done at meetings I have to attend. Okay, I'm going to try. I may not succeed. But when I go to a meeting and there's a PowerPoint or a handout like this, and somebody in the front stands up and reads it to me, and I've already read it before they ever get halfway through it, it's not only uninteresting to me, I don't pay as much attention. So because I feel strongly that that isn't how it should be done, I'm going to ask you to look at the criteria yourself, and then let me know if you have a question. I'll make some commentary as we go, yes. But I'd rather have you look. So you're looking now at the 10 to 9 under introduction. Is there anything in that box that you have a concern about? If not, we move down to the body.
Where's the difference between informative explanation and clear explanation? I know I jumped to the 8, but I'm kind of comparing them as I go. So
Well, you may understand in an 8, you understand the passion that they're explaining to you, but it doesn't tell you very much compared to the 10-9. They're going to be more detailed. That's all. It's just most of the rubrics I find have very fine line distinctions, don't they? Yeah, I mean, this is what we run into all the time. You're going to know a 10-9 intro when you hear it, I think. You're going to have more information. It isn't just stating the passion and stating it clearly, and that's what I would see probably as more of an 8. Anything in the body here so far? Yes.
On the audio visual,
Is that we got that in the body? Yes, yes.
yeah, we're not judging that. That's already been judged by the mentor.
No, the audiovisual has not been judged by the mentor. The product has been judged.
Okay.
So the product could be the fundraising experience,
Okay.
or the canoe,
All right. So
or the Spanish dinner.
So we will be judging the audio visual.
You will be judging the present, yes, the actual audiovisual.
Okay.
Does the mentor sit in on the presentation?
No,
It's just the judges and the student?
right, just the judges. And while you bring that up, I'm just going to ask you to be kind and don't sit all three together in a little row. Spread yourselves out a bit and sit back a bit so you're not invading their psychological space. Okay?
Do you use it in classrooms? What kind of
They're in classrooms.
regular
They're all in classrooms. You don't have to sit in the very back row, but I certainly wouldn't sit in the very front 2 or 3 rows either. Okay?
Is there a moderator?
No.
So the student will just come in, introduce themselves, and begin.
And they'll set up whatever they need to. The technical stuff should have been set up ahead of time. They're not completely responsible for the technical setup, are they? I mean, somebody brings all the equipment to the room. We ask the kids to go after school and check, but every once in a while there is a failure of some kind. And so that at that time you are pretty much watching the student handle the failure. You're looking at poise there. That's where you would either mark them up or down if they get too flustered by it. But I have to say, I feel really bad. We had a girl a few years ago who was a super student and presenter. She was expecting a 100, and so was I for her. And she came in and there was a problem with something in the room, and it flustered her momentarily, but the judges hit her really hard for it. And I think she ended up with an 89 or a 90, and she was crushed. She'd worked very hard on the presentation and felt that that was very stiff kind of assessment.